So here we are with the last poster of the course in which we'll work on Photoshop's gradient map. This technique is often used in design to integrate a photo with its background and to achieve the duotone effect, which is so trendy now. It's also common to use gradient maps in coloring of illustrations and comics. Very often, illustrators develop the illustration in black and white and then add color zone by zone with gradient maps. Here in our subboard 7 in Pinterest, we can see several examples of the use of gradient maps to practice duotone. And down here we have some illustrations that could have been colored using gradient maps. Well then, let's go with the poster. I have my document ready here with my template and the colors I'm going to use in the swatches panel, and I also have in Photoshop the image I'm going to use. This image belongs to Freepik's free catalog, and you'll find a link to it in the attachments section. I'm going to drag the image to my poster document and adjust the size. Using Ctrl-J or Command-J if you're on a Mac, I'm going to copy it in a new layer just in case I want to recover the original picture at some point. I'm going to change this layer's name and to this other one too, and I'll name it Original. Since I'm going to color the image, I'm not interested on its actual color, so I'll convert it to black and white, though this image is not especially colorful. It's almost unnecessary, but I'll do it anyway. To do this, I click on Image, Adjustments, Black and White. I'll leave the default parameters. I see the image is quite dark, so I'll create a levels adjustment layer and turn up the middle tones and the black tones. Now that we have the image with the levels and contrast to our taste, we're going to proceed to color it using the gradient map. To do this, I'm going to create a gradient map adjustment layer. As you can see, when I added the gradient map adjustment layer, the image switched colors. If I take a look at the properties panel, I can see in this bar there's the gradient that colored my image. So that what was black in the image has been colored with this color on the left, and what in my image was white now is colored with this color on the right. And all middle grays have been colored with all these intermediate tones. If I wanted to, I could change the colors by editing the gradient, and I could tell Photoshop to color the whites with this yellow tone. And as you see, now my image has been colored with tones ranging from yellow to purple. We can, if we want to, add some complexity to the gradient, adding intermediate tones. For example, I'm going to add white in this corner because I want to keep a white background. And I want the medium gray to be of a reddish tone. And the darkest black will be dark blue. As you see, the image has taken different tones in the middle tones. What I highly recommend is that the choice of colors must be coherent. What do I mean by this? I mean, if the gradient map colors black tones with this tone and whites with this tone, and for the grayscale it will go along the intermediate colors, we should choose colors in a way for it to move along from darker colors on the left to lighter colors as we move along the bar to the right. Otherwise, the look our image will get is it will look like an inverted image. I'm going to reverse it so you can see it. If this is what you're looking for, great. But it's convenient that you are the one controlling the technique and not the technique controlling you. Often, using the gradient map, the effect is far more exaggerated than what we would want, but we can adjust it with opacity. And we can also try the different blending modes to get different behaviors. I find especially interesting color blending mode because it keeps perfectly the levels in the picture and it only applies tone. Now that we have color, we can also go back to our levels adjustment layer and adjust the sliders more to our taste. Depending on how we move the sliders, the color will spread one way or another. And of course, you can keep adding levels and curves adjustment layers if you want to keep doing adjustments. For example, I'm going to try adding a curves adjustment layer here. What's interesting is to keep trying until you find some results that fit. Well, I like the image like this, and I'm going to highlight the atmosphere of our poster with a slight touch of color. In order to do this, I'll create a layer over it, and I'm going to select a brush with no hardness and with 50% opacity. I'll take this color and I'll put on some touches around here. And with this other color, I'll do the same up here. I'm going to create now a rectangle. I'll move the fill and raise the stroke thickness. And I'll set it with a gradient using the colors we're using. I'm going to change the blending mode so it creates a nice frame. Now I'll draw some kind of X. And I'll do this by creating a rectangle too, which I'll fill up with purple this time. I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees by holding Shift, so it jumps by 15 degrees each time. I'll duplicate it using Ctrl J, and I rotate again the duplicate rectangle. Now I select both layers and blend them using Ctrl E. Now I'll place it where I like and change its blending mode to overlay. And now the only thing left is to modify the details on the template. I hit save, so Photoshop applies the modifications, and that's it. Our last poster is finished now. In the next lesson, we'll see something essential: the presentation of our poster.